Hello. I have a wonderful guest that I'm going to introduce you to. His name is Barry Samson. He is actually from Canada, and he was born in North Saskatchewan, Canada. I love saying Saskatchewan. I mean, I'm probably one of the very few Americans that know how to say Saskatchewan. And Barry, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Close enough. Close enough.
Perfect. Great. So Saskatchewan is an 8-hour drive straight north of Billings, Montana. Wow. He is a father of 2 girls, a businessman, and a certified professional co-active coach. He was a professional hunting guide and outfitter for 33 years in the Canadian North, and now occupies his time bringing something meaningful to people's emotional lives. Yes. Barry is passionate. He's a passionate advocate for emotional health and knows from the inside this thing we have come to call depression, okay? And in his own words, he was blessed with a nervous breakdown. He said he lost a war with his nervous system and its emotional messengers, and won a life full of things he loves. Oh my God. So now, many times I'm always talking about money and investing and other things on the show, but without love and without, this is, you have to be happy, right? And so this is why I wanted Barry to be on this show. So I'm going to actually begin asking Barry questions and let him educate us all if we combat depression or for anything, right? So Barry, how do you define this thing that we call depression?
I'll define what it isn't. So there seems to be an aspect of the way our society deals with these sort of things where they see it as a problem. I don't see depression as a problem at all. I see it as an adaptive response to lives that aren't working for us.
Yeah.
So I see it as a friend trying to tell us which way to go and not an enemy to shoot. There's no war to be waged here and no war to win. That's not how it works. So depression was my friend. I just didn't know it. It was trying to tell me something. I wasn't listening.
Amazing. So a little bit of background. So Barry and I have known each other. He is a very good investor as well. And that's why he can do what he wants to do. So we met in we have a mutual partner. And so we were at one of these investment conferences some years back. And it's really important that you kind of befriend and have all of these people that are rich in your lives. And Barry is one of those people that has been very near and dear to my life for many years. And anytime I'm struggling with anything, I kind of reach out to Barry. So he's my psychologist, or, he's a friend. So Barry, how would you define a nervous breakdown? What do you mean when you say you lost a war with your nervous system and won a life full of the things you love?
Yeah, so for me, a nervous breakdown is my nervous system saying, buddy, we can't trust you to run the bus anymore. We're stopping you. We're shutting you down now. We're taking you out of the front seat. You're in the back seat, and we're gonna squish you and hold you for a bit. And then this war. So is that clear? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And then this war that I waged on my nervous system and what I call the messengers, our feelings and these emotional sensations and these storms we have. yeah, I tried to shut all that down. I tried to contain it. I tried to diffuse it. I tried to numb it. I tried to work myself. As long as I was busy, I could make life work for me. But when I wasn't busy at work, it didn't work. And so yes, that approach to life led to a nervous breakdown. I thought I was Superman. My nervous system said, buddy, you are not Superman. So it stopped me. And then I got really clear. A nervous breakdown is extremely painful experience. You cannot ignore it. It is, Superman could not ignore this thing. And from there, I have created a life where I now listen to what's going on inside me. And I don't make any big decisions now anymore without listening inside. So I don't get lost.
Oh, wow. Excellent. So when you had a nervous breakdown, I don't think I've ever had a nervous breakdown, but then again, I don't know. Sorry. There have been times that I think I'm having a nervous breakdown. I just don't define it as that. So
that's a good point. Good point. So can I just talk briefly about my experience?
Yes, please.
So I would wake up in the morning, sorry about that, with the experience of incredible internal physical pain, like my guts would just be clenching. And for me, I would have a suicidal thought within 10 seconds of waking up.
Suicidal thoughts, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that's the beginning of my day. And from there, it got worse. So, so you go through the day dreading everything. I could be driving down the road and suddenly I would start weeping. The thought of doing anything was just all too much. And then and all I could dream about was getting the pain to stop. So in the evening, I would pray that I would get sleepy enough that I could go to sleep. And the problem is my sleep got less and less and less. So I had to increasingly, I had to confront what was there to confront. It's no fun. It's no fun at all.
So you weren't hospitalized or anything for it? Or were
No,
you?
but most people would have been.
Yeah.
I still had a business to run.
Right, right.
So.
I can't imagine. I mean, people probably go through this so often. There's a lot of people that probably have this. And I appreciate your vulnerability, and I'm going to be vulnerable too. I mean, I have been depressed in some, not maybe to that level, but never been hospitalized or anything like that. But it's not a fun experience.
No, this is not fun. And the beauty of the emotional messengers, they speak in a language that we cannot ignore forever. Eventually, we have to listen to them. And that's just the way it is. It's neither good nor bad. I actually think it's good news that we have a nervous system that operates this way. If we live a life, Gina, the way we are designed to live it, it will be a rich and full life.
Yes.
If we live a life that is not aligned with the way we are designed, we're going to pay for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And everyone else on the bus with us is going to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. But that is very powerful, what you just said.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the laws that we think, our community thinks, that comes with relational life, is that these relational emotional impacts, they ripple out through our field of influence. So if you're a business leader and you were where I was, where your life isn't working for you, and you're bringing an emotional, energetic affect that is not good for your team and your business and your team are going to suffer. That's just the way it is.
It's so funny you say that, because I have experienced that a few times myself. I remember when we had sold DirecTV to AT&T 4 or 5 years ago, and we had to stay there for a period of time until we transitioned the asset over to them, right? And I was almost like a prisoner of war, like a POW. I'm not kidding you. And it was so, I don't think I've ever been so depressed in my life, right? And it was kind of equivalent to maybe being married with someone you don't actually love, right? But you have to stay in a marriage for until we are able to come to a mutual agreement of leaving, right?
Yeah, so the way I would characterize that, what I would just call it oppression. You're living in a system where what you want is not being met.
Yes.
And that can happen in a business, a relationship, and it can also happen internally.
Yes.
So internally, there is something within us that we, in the coaching community, we call it a saboteur. Its job is to keep us where we are at. It doesn't like change. So it will often oppress our wanting and prevent us from getting the things we love. So, I just thought it's a critical part. That's why we believe, we'll get into it eventually here in the interview, but that's why we believe the community is so important to help people move from stuck to unstuck, from being in under a repressive regime, whether it's, World War II and the Nazi thing, or whether it's in a relationship that you don't, or working for a company that you don't want to work for.
Yeah.
That's not good for us.
It's not. And I've never had that phenomenon because I have never been oppressed like that. Oppression is horrible. So let's continue on, because I want to make sure that I get to what others can actually take away from this. So if we were to get really honest right now and hold nothing back, what do you think we're doing wrong when it comes to emotional life, and what is the solution?
Well, if I'm going to get really honest, it might be a little provocative, but if I'm going to be really honest, all the people I work with, and everywhere I go, I travel around the world and I visit different countries, I see people, where I see dysfunction in the world, I see people making simple, correctable mistakes when it comes to emotional and relational life.
Yeah.
These are simple mistakes. The problem is that when you're in them, let's say if you're in a dysfunctional relationship, it's not easy to see where the choice points are. Right? To an outsider, or if you're part of a community, they will help you see the choice points, and then it gets simpler. But yeah, so I see that. Okay, so there's the problem of people as a whole. Lots of us are making simple, correctable mistakes with emotional and relational life. The next thing is our societal response to the manifestations. We call them disorders. The DSM-5 calls major depressive order, it has a definition for it. We have addictive responses and all that other stuff. Our societal response is to sort of wage war or deal with the symptoms of the problem rather than the problem itself.
Interesting.
Yeah, so in my case, I was a perfect example. I waged war with my nervous system. My nervous system wasn't the problem. It was fine. The problem for me was I was not living a life I was designed for.
And what do you mean by that? I mean, is it individual? I mean, some of it's individual, but I believe there's some universal needs.
There's a hierarchy of needs. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yeah.
Love and connection are universally relevant. We need them.
I agree.
If you're living a life without that, and with what the academics call psychosocial integration, if you're living a life without that connectivity, body felt connection with community and other people, you're going to suffer. Black and white. It's an immutable fact. You don't get to choose that. That's who you are.
Yeah.
I was trying to live a life without that sort of connection.
I've seen this a lot, especially here in North America. I'm in the U.S. for my audience, and Barry's in Canada. So I think it has something to do with how every culture is different, right? And you just got back from Morocco, for example. And so you experience something very different in Morocco than you do in North America. Can you kind of explain a little bit of that?
Well, so not only did I just come back from Morocco, I came back from Hungary.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm not completely familiar with the history of Morocco, but what I saw in the villages and communities I went to, I saw people smiling, dancing, celebrating life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Call to prayer in the morning, call in early, 5 o'clock in the morning, the religious experts are calling the people to prayer. I saw men walking, with their arms around each other's shoulders, laughing and having fun. When we went to Hungary, we visited a country who lost 95% of its Jewish population in World War II. 95%.
Wow.
That's the highest percentage of any country on the planet to the not, to that.
Yeah.
And then we visited the Terror Museum. So we got to go down and visit where real oppression took place. External oppression. So you and I talked earlier about some sort of internal thing,
Yeah.
or something where you even worked in a company and you felt oppressed in some way. Well, here people were being tortured and killed, right?
Wow.
So that had a powerful impact on me and has now informed, I'm even more bolder now on bringing what I believe is the antidote to oppression everywhere, and including the internal oppressor, the saboteur.
Interesting, interesting. So, in my opinion, I've noticed when people have traveled, right, the world, I travel a lot. I mean, I'm in China and Australia and Canada and God, many, many other places, Israel, it doesn't matter. But it's so much value by actually going and seeing these other cultures and how they live. Do you think that aids in helping you to live your life in the way it's meant to be, is to see how other areas live?
Well, I'm a pragmatist, so anything that works, works. Anything that doesn't work, doesn't work. Utility, I mean, in the mountains, when we're taking a pat string over the mountain, we called, what do we call it? Function is beauty. So some people can travel and just go from 5-star hotel to 5-star hotel and never get their feet wet in a culture.
Oh my God, I saw that before. One of my friends, he actually was wanting a bellhop you don't get a bellhop at these places, right?
So, and I would also say that people can travel internally through reading powerful writing and do powerful personal work.
Yeah.
So it's not just jumping on a plane or a train. The objective for me is to go to a place, either physically or metaphorically, where you now see life and your world differently through a different lens. To me, that is what travel is about.
I completely agree. I mean, that's very, very valuable. So I'm going to continue on here because I know you don't have a whole lot of time. So let me ask you this. Do you think there is a connection between what you are seeing and our school shootings here in the United States? I mean, every other month or so, I don't know if you get visibility in Canada as to all of the stuff.
We're hearing about it all the time. My core message is that emotional and relational alignment or well-being and competency matters. So to the degree that an individual or a society is not aligned with their emotional design, so people are living lives, again, without that psychosocial integration part. If they're adrift, they are not connected to anybody. And if they're male and they happen to be angry, they can be dangerous. That's the thing about our men. Men are beautiful creatures, but if they are unhealthy, if they are not aligned, and if they are also unconscious, they are the most dangerous thing our planet has ever produced. There's never been a more dangerous thing on the planet than an unhealthy, unconscious man.
Wow, that says it all, right?
I think it does. So if you get an unhappy young man who interprets this internal yuck that manifested in my case to thinking about killing myself. But if he interprets it and sees it as a call to action,
Yep.
he's going to go outside to deal with it. Mine was an internal thing. There's no difference between those guys and me. The only thing is mine, I went inside and beat myself up. They're going outside to do it. That's the only difference I can see.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So Barry, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to have you back on, because I'm all about solutions, right? We now acknowledge the problem. And so I'm going to ask that we take the problem and now turn to the solution. And so let's kind of move forward.